Welcome to another OCD Recovery Instagram Live. I'm just traveling at the moment, so I'm in a hotel. In case you think those curtains are mine, I wouldn't put those rubbish looking curtains in my house. And we're going to be talking a bit about today needing inside. What is internal needing that we do? And that's the problem with most anxiety and OCD. This internal needing, that is the problem. So let me give you an example. Relationship OCD. Here's a demonstration. A question I ask people with ROCD. How would you feel if your boyfriend broke up with you? Oh, I couldn't stand it. I couldn't handle that. I just no. I need to know he's in love with me. I need to know it's together. And here's the rational. I would really like him to love me. I would really like him to love me. I strongly want him to love me. But if he doesn't love me, I was good before I met him. I'm good on my own. I can live my life on my own. That's okay. I'm fine with that. Okay? Now, one's rational, one's irrational. It's needing is the problem, this internal need. It's like someone who goes, I need to make money. I need to become very rich. I have to have this. Then they're obviously going to feel anxious because they're wanting it. As opposed to, I would like to strive to make a living. I would like to strive to make, even if they want to make a lot of money, I want to strive to make a lot of money. They can have that feeling. That's okay. But it's when it becomes a needing inside, that feeling, that's where you get yourself stuck. And that comes in the terms of with anything. It comes in the terms of you can be, for example, let's have a think. I need to get better from OCD. I can't stand having OCD. I have to get rid of this anxiety. I have to get rid of this OCD. It's terrible. That sensation is creating anxiety. So it's about getting comfortable with learning to be at peace with I want to get better. I would strive to get better, but my life isn't over if I don't get better, which is part of the problem. So let's just plug this phone in, because what's happening here always is it's this exaggeration. With relationship OCD, it's that I can't stand it on my own if I'm not in this relationship. You studied it before. You've lived your whole life on your own before. But relationship feels great, but relationship is not life over. Relationship is not. If you're not in a relationship, you don't suddenly die. You don't need a relationship to breathe, live, eat, function as a human. So it's very important to ground yourself with that, with anything. Same as if you're going to lose your job, lose your house. It's nice to have a house. I strongly want a house, but we know that humans survive without a house. They can still live without a house. We know as long as they've got some kind of shelter, well, even that, they can still, even if they haven't, even if you're dying, you've got an illness, I would strongly like to live. I would like to live, but I don't need to. Now, needing implies that we have to have it. If it's not given to us this second, we can't even stand being in existence at this point in time, and that's not reality. So it's changing that need, that internal need that feels like that, into accepting and making peace where it becomes a preference. That's what recovery is all about. And especially in our OCD there, where it's that I need them to love me. I need to know that they love me at all times. I need to feel love. I need to feel connected. I need to feel ... That's what causes all the problems. Let's have a look at any of these questions quickly. Otherwise I fall behind on them. Can you do a live on HOCD, sexual orientation? Absolutely, I will be doing that, and POCD. Okay, right. Let's do a little bit about, what could we do? We could do a bit on HOCD today, because I was meaning to do that next time. Harm OCD. Let's have a little talk about harm OCD. Harm OCD, what does it encounter and what does it involve? Well, it could involve harm to myself with this knife. What if I suddenly slash my neck and just suddenly do it in this second? What if I do it and end everything? Now, even when I put that knife there, I can still feel that. I never had suicide OCD, but I still feel that OCD go, do I want to do it? Did I do it? Did I have that feeling? It gave me that feeling. It gave me that sensation. I just felt that. And that's, you don't need to test these. So I do not advise, I know it's a common CBT thing to hold a knife to you or a loved one and so on, but it can become a testing format where you're trying to test, do I really want to do it, do I want to do it? And that's when often people are doing it too much. It's not the way to recover. It's about learning to see that, realizing first of all that having some understanding that we're not actually, although we feel like we're just going to do that, we don't just go around killing everyone. That doesn't happen. It's about learning a deeper level of acceptance, learning to make peace, learning to rationally see these things differently, learning to see things aren't as scary as we think they are, and it's our exaggerations. That's a large core of it, especially with unconditional self-acceptance, getting in under harm OCD, which, to give you some examples, let me think of some. So when I used to have harm OCD, it always used to be towards what if I stabbed someone, what if I killed someone. But I could always offer acceptance to other people from different parts of the world and different life. So, for example, someone born in a Mexican gang culture in a very poor part of Mexico would think very different maybe about stabbing someone than I would growing up in a good family background where I didn't need to stab anyone. So I would have viewed it as if I did that, I was unforgivable, judge and executioner in my head, black and white thinking, constant torture forever and ever if I had made that move even for a millimeter. And whereas to them I could be, I could accept them, they could easily think like that, but for me it wasn't like that. Now I'm certainly in a position where I could accept myself if I stabbed or killed somebody. I wouldn't like to kill somebody, I strongly wouldn't. Obviously very empathetic with the things that I do, and having OCD, we're generally very empathetic. But I could certainly see that I could make a mistake as a fallible human being. I think it's very unlikely, but if I did kill someone, I could see that I could act in that way. Humans have been designed to kill people for thousands of years in wars and all sorts of things. We're actually very, very much designed to kill. Our emotions, our brains override so many things to allow us to do that killing. So it is possible to do that, although unlikely because we don't want to do it, and we've got that control over it. But in an accident, some sort of situation, I don't know what could happen. Maybe something could happen, and in that situation, possibly that could happen. Could I accept myself? Absolutely, I could accept myself as a fallible human. However, the behaviour I wouldn't be keen on. I would think that's a behaviour that was unhelpful. It wasn't very helpful. It's been unhelpful to them dying and unhelpful to me going to prison forever. So I wouldn't write myself off. I wouldn't like that behaviour, but I wouldn't write off the self. I'm perfectly intact, a good human being in the sense of when we label human beings, often we get caught up in this mumbo jumbo that we've all learnt to believe in, that human is good if he does this and bad if he does that, which is a load of crap. Basically, a human is good just for fulfilling the purposes of human. It's in the name human being, just in the being. So that's to do with being alive, walking around, functioning as human. With just by doing that, just by living, by being in this chair, I'm functioning as a human. So I'm good, intact as a human. However, if I committed that act, it would not detract from my purpose of being a human, fully functioning as a human, but that behaviour wouldn't be very beneficial. So that behaviour could always change. So I could learn to, I don't want to go around killing people anymore. I could adapt that and change that. So I would no longer be doing that. So therefore, that behaviour could change. So therefore, when we look at it, you see the self, which is us, which is the sum of all the things we do, all the activities and acts that we do in all our life. The self is an ever-changing process. For example, somebody could come from a gang culture where he's been stabbing people left, right and centre, come into a rehabilitation, decide, shit, I don't want to be killing anymore, and realising how bad he went, and then decide never to do it again. So things are very different. It's not one bad act doesn't label the self. Let me demonstrate in more detail. If you killed somebody and we said that person is absolutely bad, that would mean they could never do any good. And if a person, so if you take, for example, someone we regard as a hero, I can't think of anyone on top of my head, but somebody we regard as a hero, they could still do bad. And then a person who does a villain, one of our worst people in prison, could still learn to do some good. So therefore, they can't be wholly good or bad. Good and bad is a perspective. As William Shakespeare said, only thinking makes it so, about good and bad. Good and bad is a perspective of how we view things. So one thing that was good in medieval times would be bad today and vice versa. So we can't actually choose what is good and bad. It's a perspective thing. Nothing is actually good and bad. That's our judgment. Things are either helpful or unhelpful. They're not either good or bad. We've added that to the mix. So it's about seeing that, learning to refrain from judging, learning to pull back from judging, which is key to OCD recovery. Let me just go through these questions, see if there's any more. 1 second. How do you get over the fear of going schizophrenic? Well, it's a combination of learning to live with uncertainty with schizophrenia and learning to accept, even if you were schizophrenic. People live as schizophrenic and they still function. Although at times it would be challenging, they still do function. So I think it's very, very important that with schizophrenia you move to accepting, even if you had schizophrenia, which is a difficult thing to do at first, but it's definitely the way to go. And what I had to do, because I had schizophrenia or OCD, constantly checking what age am I developing schizophrenia, am I in a risk, and listening, am I hearing things, am I seeing things, and then OCD would mimic all those things, so it would feel so real. Okay. What about in regards to confessing? More about it. I will cover more about... Well, confessing is going to... It feels like it's going to let you off the hook, but it never lets you off the hook. It's like a reassurance. It basically... I feel like, if I confess, then I'll get a bit of relief. But who even says that's giving relief? Why does that give relief? Because we feel that if we've told them we've done the right thing. But then it could say, well, you did the wrong thing by cheating 10 minutes ago. So the thing you're confessing to is that. So you can't, in relation to cheating relationship OCD, so you can't use confession. Your confession doesn't, it only makes sense if you believe in it, and it still only offers short-term relief. So it's not efficient, an efficient method of getting better, and you've got to avoid it. People talk about OCD wanting to confess it all day. And in relationship OCD, they want to confess it. In harm OCD, they want to confess it. Young lads ring me up that are 18, 19 who want to hand themselves into the police saying that they're a paedophile or a murderer. I have people that handcuff themselves so that they can't do anything or cause any harm to anyone. This is all forms of confession. OCD says you'll be let off the hook the second you do, and it's always fucking lying. Always. It promises relief, but it never delivers. It never delivers on reassurance. It never delivers on confession. Ever. That's the end of it. And you've got to really think about that and notice that, because it will lead you down the path constantly, promising you relief and never delivering. I think I avoid life. I always stop doing things when they start to go good. It's like I feel I'm losing control even though I'm not sitting at home controlling things. Is this common? Control is a classic part of OCD, constantly looking to have everything controlled. You have got to start realizing, you've not got to start realizing, but it's about realizing through changing things by how you're viewing things, that control is an illusion. I could have a heart attack right now. I could have cancer in my stomach. I have no idea there's no cancers in here. I could have been born with a genetic that I don't even know. I could be dead in 3 weeks. I have no idea. I could get in a car tonight and it could crash and die. People think, it doesn't happen because it hasn't happened before. Just because it hasn't happened before is no indicator that it won't happen tonight. So we are in a world that's completely out of our control all the time. But we think it's controllable because we base it on all the safety we felt before. But it isn't. We are living in complete uncertainty. But we're okay with that. We're used to that, because we've got comfortable with that in areas of our life, but not all. OCD is not going to let you off the hook just by noticing that. It needs often a deeper level of acceptance. But that is a very important part too. Let's have a look. Is being afraid of seeing a male client because you are to become a female therapist when the master has done a normal thing that some therapists experience, like you can be impressed by your client? Okay, let's get really real with things in life here, okay? In human life, humans that are married, humans of any age, have feelings about other humans. They see another human. They may think of the other human sexually. They may picture the human naked. They may picture all things to do like that. It doesn't matter who the person is. Humans will do that. Therapists will do that. Therapists, people that are visiting therapists will do that. That is human. Humans will think that. Doctors will think that. Lawyers will think that. They're not going to tell you they think that because that breaches the code of what they do and we wouldn't be able to function in society. But humans do that in all inappropriate situations. Someone could be in a hospital bed, a nurse can walk in, the guy can be injured, she can be married, whatever. She can think of him like that, he can think of her like that. There is nothing off bounds. Humans think things. That is part of being human. Doesn't make anything right or wrong. It's part of being human. It's part of having a brain. Acting on it and doing things is a different story in those instances. Okay, of course we can talk on the deeper level of unconditional self-acceptance and demonstrate that too. However, I'm talking about in the general sense. So that's in relation to your question. As soon as things start to go good, I stop. Is this common with OCD? Yes, this is a form of, well, there's a lot actually behind the scenes with that particular feeling, so I'd need more detail about that before I went into that. Rob, sometimes you're so rational it scares me. Thanks for that, Juafrid. I do try and keep it rational because it's what's needed for recovery from OCD and just in general life. You know, rational makes sense. It's scientific, right? We're not rational all the time. We don't walk around like a robot being so rational that we don't enjoy anything. I don't watch a film and sit there going, they're all actors, it's boring, nothing means anything. I don't enjoy any experience and go, this is food just creating a sensation in my mouth. I enjoy the food. We're irrational. We're irrational at times. I might still get angry. Something might still go wrong and I might still go, fucking hell, I'm not going to be rational all the time. That's how life is. That'd be bloody boring if you're rational the whole time. Whole process of falling in love and all these different things, there's a hell of a lot of irrational in that, and I love all of those irrational things, but we know how to ground ourselves with the rational to get under it too. My OCD is stopping me from going back to sixth form, even though I don't want to stay at college because it suddenly triggered old problems to come back. Do I stay at college and avoid it or go back? I think the answer to this is a common thing. If you followed what I talk about on this account, is avoidance is never the answer. It's always moving towards fears. Okay, if it feels unbelievably overwhelming, you can't handle it at all and it's not going to be possible, you might need extra help in this situation around this. But if it's a thing where you think, well, I actually can, let me go towards the discomfort and see how it goes. If it's something like, I don't know, you just had a first massive OCD breakdown and then you've about to take on the hardest job ever and move out of your house and everything all at once and you've had no therapy, then you might want to slow things down. But if in an instance where you can see, actually I can take some steps here and gradually build to this, or sometimes not so gradually but sort of take a bit of a leap into it, then it's certainly the way to go. NHS have told me I'm probably too unstable to be treated at the moment due to how severe I am. I'm feeling suicidal. I think they're fobbing me off. Well, the context of that I'm not sure about, but if that was exactly as you state it, that's absolutely ridiculous because nobody is too unstable. That's like saying to someone, sorry, your heart attack's too strong. We just leave you to die there. There's nothing we can do. You know, that's how the health system is around for all kinds of situations. Whatever it is, we try our best to make do. And there's never a case of OCD. I deal with some of the, well, not some of, I deal with the most extreme cases of OCD on the planet. Because obviously those people will come to me over the years for OCD. I've never seen a case where we couldn't make a massive change with OCD in a reasonable period of time, and I never see a case where I can't see recovery is possible. It's a case of where you are when people are feeling the worst situations, it's easy to feel like there's nothing that can be done, feeling suicidal and so on. I deal with suicidal cases every single day, and I deal with people in mental health hospitals pretty much every other day or every single day, and it's a case of just learning to see things from a different perspective, and that takes time, great shifts, and small shifts that then become the greatest shifts. I've never lost anyone to suicide in all the years I've been doing this. I've met many people that were very, very imminently wanted to commit suicide, and I speak to many people regularly that talk back about the experiences they've had over the last years where they remember where they were suicidal and then think, how did I even get to that place? It's a very easy place to get to for in a lot of situations, for a lot of people and a lot of different things. That's a good trigger for people with suicide OCD. Doesn't mean you're just going to go and suddenly do it, the same as I'm not going to grab that knife and just slash my throat. But we can never say, any of us can say, I'm absolutely 100% sure I'll never commit suicide. I can't say that. Even with what I do and my perspective on life, I can't say what could happen to me, what kind of natural disaster, what could happen to my family. I very much think it's super unlikely based on my perspectives of things and thinking that, you find meaning in anything, whatever else I've lost around me. I would see it very, very unlikely, but you can never say with certainty on anything, okay? You can never say with certainty with anything. So I think that's an important point to remember. My OCD makes me feel like I'm a bad person and as if I don't deserve friends. Well, you're definitely not a bad person. If you rewind back this Instagram live, you'll see why, because I broke down why that bad person theory doesn't make any sense at all. So bad person, that's not actually possible if you have a look at that. And everyone, it's not a case of deserving. No, deserving is again a concept of belief of how we think, I don't deserve this. There's no deserving. Everyone can have a friend. No one deserves anything. No one deserves, I don't deserve to. There's no deserving in even coming into question. That deserving is in imagining that, for example, we've got some kind of universal law that brings about the term deserving to us. There's no deserving going on whatsoever. Okay, let's have a look. Loss of attraction. Well, if you're scared of losing attraction, if you're very, very scared of losing attraction, what do you think OCD is going to manipulate? It's going to very much manipulate. Let's get a bottle of water on a second. It's going to very much manipulate. Second, let's just unplug this. It's very much going to manipulate how attracted you are. So if you are terrified of not feeling attracted to them, you're going to very much feel you're not attracted to them. And with relationship OCD, because that's linked to the fear of, oh my God, I'm going to have to break up with them. When you don't have to break up with anyone, there's nowhere that says you have to, you must, or anything like that. But because of your beliefs around that, you're going to think, shit, I do have to break up with them. And so that's why it's linking in there. Second. Have you ever been on quetiapine? No, I've never been on any meds. I was very severe with OCD where it was affecting all my life, but I was never on meds. That doesn't mean that you have to do that. I obviously recommend meds to people to help take the edge off. I don't for a second. There's no judgment on meds whatsoever. If you decide to do it without meds, that's fine. If you decide to do it with meds, that's fine. Now, often we get problems where people are avoiding taking meds for fear of side effects, fear of feeling weak, all these other irrational beliefs and judgments that they often have. So it's about learning to see that there is no judgment on that, whether you take meds or you don't. I never took meds just because my main reason was I remember reading an article at the time that said, in the at the time when I read this article talking about Russia not giving out as many meds as the United States, I can't remember what generation when this was, 50, 60 years ago, and the results they found out instead by giving exercise versus meds. I read it at the time, and it said that the exercise had proven to be just as helpful at the time. What I had read, not referencing this at all in the slightest. Exercise is very helpful and can lift your mood, but when people are in real desperate situations, meds can really take the edge off. Very different the meds today. Very different situation. I wouldn't recommend just using exercise alone. And it was just an article that I happened to read on my journey that I was on. And so I decided I was going to do exercise and I was going to work on my beliefs instead. I could probably save myself a lot of suffering if I had taken meds to help take the edge off. It probably would have made a difference instead of struggling as hard as I did at that time. Okay, let's have a look here. Sometimes treatment and therapy can become compulsive when you fear staying stuck. Yes, it could become compulsive, but then you're also scared, probably in that instance a lot of the time, of what if it is compulsive. That's so common. You see that all the time. People are so scared. What if I'm doing reassurance? What if I'm doing compulsion? If you're doing a bit of reassurance compulsion, it's not the absolute end of the world. That again is fear of anxiety and fear of staying stuck. Yes, we've got to, let's get this point right. Yes, you've got to treat it like the same as in rehab with drugs or alcohol. You want to put a stop to it and take it very seriously. But at the same as they say in rehabs, if someone does drink, they don't beat themselves over the head so damn hard that they can never get back up again. You go with, well, I've made a mistake. I'm going to get behind myself and give myself the best chances to get on. You get back on the bike that you've fallen off. That's the way you've got to approach it. Now, you see what people are saying there about listening to me. Listening and asking questions is reassurance. I can spot, and there's a reassurance and there's a cycle going on. Now, listen to this point. This is crucial, and I forget to often cover this a lot. When I listen to people speak to me on the phone in the first session, I know very quickly from listening to tone of voice, how people are, and tell how they're doing, how well they're doing, what they're trying to do, how their thinking tends to be working, because I'm very used to dealing with people and seeing how it's operating in their head, the OCD and anxiety. Now, this is how people often speak. I say something, and then quickly, before I've even said finished, they'll be like this. What about this though, Rob? What about this? Have you seen this thing? And how do I deal with that? And then, but I don't know about that. What if this? And what if that? They're instantly diving in and not listening. Now, let me show you the difference. Listening is mindful. It's not engaging. Trying to quickly get an answer. You're trying to escape from the anxiety. You're trying to pull away and retract all the time and then grab something. Grab. Whereas you need to actually be learning to sit, learning to not need, because you're trying to need, and it's about learning to just sit there, relaxed, and let go. And go, okay, maybe I can ask a question in a moment, but I don't need to get rid of this sensation, this feeling I'm feeling right now. I feel what I'm feeling, but I don't need to pull away from this position. I don't need this information to survive. I can sit here, even if he doesn't give this to me and I feel discomfort and the anxiety. I can sit here for now. And that's okay. That's okay to sit here. Now let me listen. Let me see what I can hear. Let me see what I can feel. And it's that disconnecting there, just feeling not locked in. And that's crucial. How will therapists do ERP if you have sexual obsessions about touching the opposite gender inappropriately? The same as with all of these, with paedophile ones, with any of these. It's done by targeting it from different angles depending on the theme. It's not done by going and touching someone inappropriately. So we're going to go with the uncertainty of not knowing, because I imagine with ERP maybe you're reluctant there because you think, I need to know for sure what I'm going to do, which is common. People always say to me before first session, I need to know for sure, Rob, what are we going to do exactly, specifically, so they're not scared and they're nervous before. And it's about not knowing and getting comfortable with that. Are feelings indicator of truth? Absolutely not. You can have a feeling about anything. OCD hijacks feelings. So if you're basing it on feelings, it's going to lead you anywhere. I've had an intrusive thought this afternoon and I immediately wanted to seek reassurance from my partner or parents, but remembered what my therapist said and I've kept it inside. Fantastic, Jen. That is an amazing step to make, because it's a step that's crucial in your recovery journey, and it's a very big move, because until we take that step, like my post that was, I think, yesterday, talk about recovery as a kind of dream, until we've really made those steps to change, then it becomes reality. Isn't it reassurance to say that you can't be a bad person? No, that's a different change in philosophy. Let me give you an example. People often say this to me, and this is a really important point to highlight. People say, but Rob, and I want to really highlight this point of the Instagram Live. People say to me, but Rob, I've been told not to dispute the thoughts. We're not disputing the thoughts. Humans walk down the street. They don't think, what am I supposed to think? How am I supposed to think? What am I thinking now? What am I doing now? What am I doing? They don't do that. They just walk. Now, where the problem comes is we don't fight the thoughts. Intrusive thoughts come in. We're not trying to fight them and push them off. What we're doing is we're changing our irrational beliefs. Take, for example, fear of HIV. I realised that you can live to a long life with HIV. I could still do most of the things I want to do to be happy. So I'm not terrified of it. Therefore, I don't get intrusive thoughts about HIV. It doesn't lock on. And I don't have any problem there. Now, that's because of that belief. Now, I work on that before. I worked on that belief a bit each day till I changed to adopt where I am now. Now, with that, I'm not fighting, not constantly fighting back and forth. That's a change in belief. And that's what we're doing with all these things. So me, I can sit here. There's no intrusive thoughts. I barely get any. They don't have any intrusiveness at all because of the nature of how I'm not scared of them intruding or anything. So I can't tell really any difference at all between me and someone who hasn't got OCD. I used to be bombarded every second, chronic guilt, chronic OCD, 24/7, year after year after year after year, therapist. The biggest fucking myth in the world of OCD is this. Living with uncertainty and not engaging with thoughts will lead to OCD recovery in all cases. It's absolute crap. Yes, in a lot of cases, uncertainty and getting used to it will get under a lot of OCD. But from my experience and from majority of people's experiences with OCD, you will not get better with uncertainty alone. Let me demonstrate why. If it was as easy as all the books say about living with uncertainty and that's it, you'd see recovery stories in the masses, in the thousands, forums overflowing with recovery stories. You don't. Yes, people leave leave when they recover forums, so you don't hear a lot of recovery stories. Understandable. But you certainly don't in relation to that, because what happens is it doesn't fully unlock. You need to get under it with, as laid out by the founder of CBT, from the formation of Greek and Roman philosophy, from Stoicism, unconditional self and life acceptance, so that it can't grip. Then true recovery, which isn't the most common thing a lot of the time because it's not that easy to achieve, but it's not rocket science, it just takes persistence and practice. It enables you to feel no chronic guilt, no chronic anxiety, very, very few intrusive thoughts, no intrusiveness. Why the hell is that not more known? I'll tell you why. Because unless you've been through OCD and understand how it works and what it feels like, people go and say, I'm okay, I'm all right, and off they go, but what they're not fully okay. A lot will be fully okay with uncertainty alone, but a huge number, including me, wasn't. I couldn't at all have got over harm OCD with false memory real event OCD from the past, would not have unlocked. It was chronically locked on. It wouldn't release. Tight in the stomach, strong physical symptoms. That's how I unlocked it. When I could really see and feel the unconditional self-acceptance, I went, don't need to torture myself internally. But it wasn't just the seeing that, I had to feel that. Okay, let's get back to these questions. OCD will attack your core beliefs and fears. Exactly right, Sophia. It's a very good point. How do you deal with awareness of eye contact when talking to someone? Talk to people and just be aware of your eye contact and see that you can still live and you can still enjoy life and you can still function even when you're really aware of your eyes. That applies to school as well. Having a question and being able to sit with an answer until an opportunity to ask arises absolutely does. Is it normal to feel like there's no way out? Every OCD sufferer thinks this. What if I'm the only one? What if this doesn't work? What if Rob says doesn't work? Then I'm stuck forever and ever anxious. That's what we all think. And we all have got to think like that because of the poor therapy we've usually had initially. So we've felt more and more alone, more and more lost, like we're never going to get better. And all of that has added up, and then we get more and more scared. Fear of fear is one of the biggest core things behind everything. Can someone recover from OCD and then have it go away forever? OCD is not curable. I can't tell I've got it. The difference between my life and if I didn't have OCD makes no fucking difference. If a pill was there and it said cure OCD, would it make much difference to my life? No. Would I be desperate to take it? No. You know, it's a thing where when we're so ill and we're suffering, of course we're going to constantly chase wanting that pill. I used to Google brain surgeries. I used to Google everything to do with getting better. You don't need that. The thing is, you are so right with the HIV cause I used to be scared of it, but learnt you can live in a long life with it. But POCD, obviously, if the worry was come true, it would be a bad outcome. Yeah, POCD and everything you can get under once you change your perspectives on it. Look, let me give you an example here in relation to when I'm on this Instagram live and I look and I think, God, look, I'm looking a bit tired today because I've been working very late and with all the time differences, it's always a bit of that case. And then I think to myself, well, how much do I give a shit that I'm tired? I couldn't care less. Doesn't matter to me. Even if I had physical symptoms, sweating, all the things I used to have with insomnia, nausea, all these problems. How much consideration would I have? I couldn't really care less. Don't think I'm going to get ill from it. I've had it for many, many years. What happens if I stay like that and have some rough nights? Well, I couldn't care less. I have no care about sleep whatsoever. When I used to have terrible insomnia and all the anxiety problems relating to sleeping, I was so concerned. I used to think my health was decreasing. I used to think I have to get a good night's sleep. I used to get into bed and it was like going into battle. That was why I was stuck. It's about not caring. I don't care if I ate loads of chocolate in this mini bar here and I get acid reflux because I've got a genetic predisposition to acid reflux, so if I eat a lot of chocolate and then I go and have a beer or something, I'll feel I could get acid reflux, but I don't care. If I do, it's not the end of the world. But when I had anxiety, I couldn't stop it. I was terrified that it would take over and ruin my whole life. I shy away from everything sexual, even sexual things that relate to my obsession in relation to POCD, OCD. My best advice to you is obviously start moving towards all those things. Do not try and get away from them. Do not try and run from them. Do not avoid having sex. Sex is one of the amazing things that we have in our lives in terms of happiness. Why are we going to sacrifice it because of OCD? You need to be having sex, even with those POCD thoughts coming into your head, even when the POCD images come into your head, they will come in the closer you get to orgasm, they will come in there, and then people think, was that what I needed to turn me on? What if I brought them in on purpose myself? And all variations of that. I see this all day long with people. People avoid masturbation, they avoid watching porn, they avoid having sex, everything. Good point there. I can't get rid of OCD. You need to learn to accept, live with it. You wanting to get rid of it is the problem. Good points there from Sophia and Juafrid. It sounds ridiculous when I hear about surgery for OCD, Mumajed from Libya there, because if you understand it, the only thing that makes sense is acceptance. Everything else is nonsense. Absolutely. Surgery, you do hear occasional some relief stories, but I never hear recovery stories or anything like that. I've never met one case of someone with OCD where I've ever recommended, thought surgery was a good idea, ever. I've never seen it. So I'm certainly never going to be promoting surgery, although I definitely thought about it for myself at times when I was really stuck. All right, I think I've answered all the questions today. I've caught up with everything there. Any last points today? I think on a last point that I want to think is, it's all about, as you see me mention on here a lot, is about bringing it for the ride, living your life. You live once, you know. All this time we never get back. Then I'll be talking about the lost years, how that caught up on me when I got better, and I thought, shit, I've lost a decade of my life to OCD, and I turned that into being what empowered my life, what gave me the change in perspective, and what enriched my life so much so that I would never want to get rid of that. That it changed everything. Without that, I wouldn't be doing this. Without that, I wouldn't view life like I do. People sit facing a computer thinking they're going to live forever and ever, just going through work one day after another, or you know, doing one holiday now and again because they think, oh, I'll always have time for that, and work is more important, and so on. And we can adjust our lives. We can live very, very differently. You see it all the time. You know, people say, I can't wait for the weekend, the common meme that you see, and people say, well, people have to do that, and people have to, you know, obviously financially there's reasons that blockades people from doing a lot of things they want, but so much of it is to do with learning to live your life how you want to live it, and you've got to bring OCD for the ride, along that ride. I know how difficult it is. I know what it's like waking up every day thinking you're in a war zone, going to bed every day drained, being drained at fucking 11 a.m. in the morning because since 9 a.m. that you got up, you've been in a battle in your head. I know what all those things feel like all the time, constantly. I know what it feels like to have harm and sexual OCD, where you think, if only I didn't have this, then I would have any other one, and so on and so on. I've walked this, I've been through this. This is why this account's real. You know, somebody messaged me the other day and said, do you even have OCD? I thought, well, I'd write really bloody well if I didn't have OCD about this topic. Not sort of saying about that I think I write particularly well, but I'm saying to have that knowledge of OCD if I'd never had it. I mean, I could think of a lot of better other things to do than write about OCD if I didn't have it. Let's have a look at these questions that have come in. The fact you do these live streams is amazing, because the first time I felt comfortable talking about POCD when I was in hospital, nobody else really had similar problems to me. POCD is one of the most common OCD fears that I see all day long. All day long, and it's the one that people don't talk about. I try and raise awareness about it all the time. People, a lot of pages and websites raise brief awareness of it, but they never go into it in detail. You know, people are going to feel alone because they'll think, oh, they just mean theirs is a POCD thought. No. POCD is going to go through all your sexual development age between 8 to 14. Okay, was when I was trying out being sexual things or looking at another kid, were they younger than me? How old were they? Then OCD will make them younger and younger and younger. When I was watching porn and then I looked at that image, how old were they? Did that turn me on more? Did I know that was wrong? Versions of ... So many versions of that. Okay. POCD, the most common, probably OCD that I see. You get anxious because you can't eat there because you're scared of having an eating disorder, so that will be about accepting and making peace. Even if you did have an eating disorder, then you won't be anxious about that, because anxiety is going to mimic all those symptoms in the stomach, making it difficult to eat or whatever in relation to that. Is it normal to feel like you want to go back to feeling like when you didn't have that? Of course. Do you think someone with cancer doesn't think all the time, shit, only last week I didn't have a cancer diagnosis, wish I could go back to that? Of course, that is what everyone thinks. Yes, I will definitely cover religious OCD in more detail in its own Instagram live. I know it's a super common one. It was probably the most common one in the Middle Ages. People just constantly going into church and confessing. Now I would say, rather than blasphemy-related OCD, it's more POCD these days, which is probably the most common. Guys, thanks for tuning into this Instagram live. I'll be putting this up on here and on Facebook. And I will see you in the next Instagram Live, where I'll be covering one of those different topics mentioned. All right, guys. See you later. Bye.